All right, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Alyssa Tabbitt, and welcome to our very first episode of Personal Growth Nation. We are so excited to be here this evening. And just so you guys know, Freddie and myself, have been entrepreneurs now for about 4 years. And PGN really has been in the making for quite a while because being an entrepreneur, you go through a different journey every single day. And for Freddie and I, we really understood going through this journey how imperative it was for, self-development, personal growth in order to build yourself so that you can build a business, right? So we thought, how cool would it be if we could have a place where we bring on some of the most successful individuals that we know and ask them their top tips, ask them how it is that they've got where they are at, and to really do what it is that they're doing. So here we are. PGN is happening. It's real. We are live, and we're so incredibly excited to get this started. But I will tell you, we really were thinking about it. We go, in order to have our viewers really understand who we are, why not dedicate the first episode and the second episode to interviewing ourselves so that you guys really get a feel for who we are, what we're about, and where we're trying to go. So that being said, guys, I'm going to bring on our very special guest today. Not only is he a serial entrepreneur, but he is also an Emmy award-winning actor from the television show Days of Our Lives. Will you guys welcome on Freddie Smith? Hey, Freddie, how's it going?
Hi, babe. I miss you already. I can't wait for you to get home.
Miss you too. So let's start this off here. Would you mind kind of going through your background, where you're from, and what the last 10 years of your journey kind of look like for Freddie Smith?
Awesome. Okay, so schedule out about 2.5 hours, and I'll go ahead and tell you step one through where I am today. I'll keep it very brief, and I'll kind of share with you what's been going on. For those of you who are meeting me for the first time, I grew up in a very small town in Ohio. The town's called Ashtabula. It's a town east of Cleveland, about an hour. Very, very small town. I grew up as the only child, and my entire life from when I can remember through high school was playing sports. I played basketball. I was a bowler. Any bowlers out there? I'm very competitive. Highest game 265, and I was like 13 or 14 years old.
Dang.
I don't even think you know that, babe. And then I played baseball. That was my other big thing. So my entire life growing up was all about sports. If I had to put one word on it, it was just like athletics. I did very well in school, not because I cared to, but because that was kind of the rule in my house. My parents were like, if you get good grades, you'll have no curfew and you just stay out of trouble. So I was like, okay, cool. So I got good grades and finished with 3.7. So I'd like to say I was a smart kid in school. I showed up a lot. I didn't play hooky. I was definitely there. But as I hit 15, 16 years old, I started getting those questions that everyone gets is like, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? And I had barely learned how to drive. I just started dating, and I'm supposed to pick what I want to do for the rest of my life, which I still find is very odd that people are asking kids in their teens like what they want to do. And I still feel like me being 29 years old, I'm still learning what I'm passionate about. So I think it's an ever-growing thing. And that's one thing I think they should continue to touch on in the education system is that, yes, find what you're passionate about, but also, have a more creative way for students and young kids to find ways to try a lot of things, to find what they really love. Because I know the big narrative for us when I was talking to my buddies was all about like, what makes the most money. And that's not the way to go. It's good to chase money. It's fun, but you should definitely, when you're going to work every day, it's got to be something you love. And that's what I was struggling with. I took all those different tests to try to see what my personality was. I was good with numbers. So everyone said, you got to be an accountant. Respect accountants, but I don't want to do that. I do my own accounting. Alyssa knows. I'm always like crunching numbers
really
at the dry erase board. Yeah. A lot of my friends call me like, I need help with my bills. Like, what do I do? So I'm able to do it as a hobby, not as a career. And when I finally got to my senior year, I was very lost. I go, what am I going to do? Not many people in my entire family. I have my mom and dad come from big families, so I have a ton of cousins. I'm very blessed to have all three. I have 3 grandparents who are still with us today, which is really amazing. So I have a really, really big family, and no one really went to school, and I wasn't pressured to go. And so I was like, what are my options? So I looked into Wyotech. It was pretty much the only school I actually looked into, which was like an 18 or 24 month college out of Pennsylvania where you learn to work on cars, but there was no break. It was just basically hands-on. I said, I really enjoyed working on cars. Let me go maybe do that for a career. Just struggling. And what was really interesting, how fate would have it, is my senior year of high school, I actually broke my hand. I had a little kerfuffle, if you will, with a friend in the lunchroom. And word of advice, don't get in fights, but if you do, don't hit someone in the hardest part of their face. It will break your knuckle. So I ended up breaking my knuckle. I was in a cast, and I couldn't play basketball for that season. So I was like, well, what the hell am I going to do? And come to find out, there was this theater arts class that was available. And my buddy's like, it's going to be a blow-off class. It's super easy, just like improv stuff. So I was like, okay. So I decided to take this theater arts class, and I'm like improving and having a good time. And I decided to go to Cleveland on the weekend, since I wasn't playing basketball, and take acting classes. And those acting classes led to me finishing out my senior year going, I'm going to be an actor. I'm going to drive out to Los Angeles and pursue it. And that's exactly what I did. So I graduated high school in 2006. And 3 weeks later, I will say I wish I would have waited till August. I left all my friends right away and went out to LA, but it would have been cool to have a senior summer to really enjoy. But, you know, everything worked out well. I had a really good experience, and I moved out and I just started auditioning. I had no clue what I was doing. Back in 2006, for anyone who's young, who's watching this in your early 20s, you know, being an actor back in the day, there was no Twitter followers or Instagram or YouTube. You definitely had to print out like headshots, and you still kind of do, but there was no way to be like known. And there also wasn't a lot of platforms like MTV was having, TBS. I think those all came. I remember just auditioning for the CW, like NBC, ABC. There was like only like a handful. So if you hit, you were like going to hit real big. So for the first 4 years, I dabbled in every job known to man. And I worked as a server. I worked at American Eagle. I worked at Outback Steakhouse as a host and a server. I worked at AAA for 3 weeks. I worked at a doggy daycare. Taking care of 90 dogs is cute, but 90 dogs, the odds are that one of them is always going to be using the bathroom. So I just carried around a mop and a shovel. I said, this is enough. So I didn't do that for long, but the 2 jobs I stuck out the longest was American Eagle for 1.5 years in the stock room most of the time, and then as a host for 1 year at Outback, and then a server. And what allowed me to quit my survival job was actually commercials. So I always tell people, when you're brand new to acting, commercials is all about a look and personality. And it doesn't really even matter about your resume. It's super easy. So really focus, any actors who are watching this, focus on a commercial, even though commercials are changing right now with everything moving to online. But I think it's going to open up for a lot of actors to be paid with all this content that's coming out through Facebook. So I think it will pick back up. But you get paid, if it goes national and plays a few times, enough money to pay your rent for 1 year, sometimes 2, depending on what your rent is. And I was able to book a handful of national commercials all within a short period of time. And I quit my job in April of 2010 from the Outback. And I remember putting in my 2 weeks, and I was like, I'm done. Please don't even schedule me. Like, I'm out. And I went home that day. I was living with my one of my best friends, Mio, at the time. And I just took off my entire uniform, my apron, my nasty shoes that are covered in just disgust. Like the shoes, servers, you know, our shoes, how gross. I took everything off in my boxers, walked out of my apartment to the trash chute, and threw everything down it. And I just told myself, like, I'm never going back to that ever again. I couldn't do it. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to do what I love doing every day. And for the next 9 months was kind of like I'm a 22-year-old kid, money in the bank in Los Angeles with no job, just auditioning. So I really had fun. Like the next 9 months of my life was such a year of just friendships and people. That's when Alyssa and I met, was during that phase. I think we met 2 months before I quit Outback. I remember you were going to some party in Malibu, and I was like, I want to go so bad. I thought this girl was like so cute and adorable, and I was like, oh my God, I have to go hang out with her. And I worked on that Saturday at Outback and on the patio, which yet again, service with the patio. You're like, I don't want the patio. And I couldn't go, and I couldn't wait to get out of there. But 2 months later, so we ended up becoming really good friends, and Alyssa and I spent like 4 days a week together, just like chilling as friends, hanging out in the same friend circle. But it was, you know, we never were like romantic. It was just like, we were just friends. And then I auditioned for 90210. It was a really early audition, I remember. And I just read once, which is never happens. I read one time, no callback, no nothing. And they just said, yeah, he's the one, book him. And so they booked me, and that was my first big job. Like I was like, I had that feeling of, oh, I've made it. And then you soon find out when you make it, you then have to stay made it. And that window and that area is actually more stressful than when you're actually on the, because you have nothing to lose when you're serving and you're struggling. You know, you're kind of like this, you know, as long as I can feed myself like this, you know, but once you get into that next bracket, you're like, you don't want to fall back down, and it's so hard to climb to the top. So that's when the real true hard work comes in. And I did 90210. I learned a lot. I don't think they really liked me though. They let me go after 5 episodes, and they never told me they didn't like me, but I just remember getting a lot of my lines cut, and I remember reading this being like, these are getting shorter and shorter. But I didn't care. So I went on to an audition for Days of Our Lives, and it was during the end of 90210. And I went in like 7 times. And I finally tested and booked the role of Sunny. And that's what I like to say is my claim to fame. Some people know me from 90210, but you know what's crazy is that was 7 years ago this December. Can't believe it. Can't believe it. So anyway, so then fast forward to, I've been on Days of Our Lives now for 7 years. I took a little break in 2015. And then just to wrap this all up in a bow, because I wasn't lying about a 2.5-hour rant. To wrap this in a bow, I found entrepreneurship in 2014, and working on a soap opera. We're very blessed with the most amazing schedule. So I only work about 15 days a month, and it varies on hiatuses and everything. So I had all this free time in the sense that I could write scripts, I could direct stuff, I could build businesses because I had the time. But then it was difficult to audition, because if you book a show for 2 weeks or a guest star or a movie, you can't ask, days for an entire month off to go shoot something. It works out every now and then, but it became a hassle. And I go, I'm just going to put all my eggs in the Days of Our Lives basket, give all myself to that character, to that show in the acting realm, and then go do things that I can work around that schedule. And so I decided to become an entrepreneur. And it started off just kind of like I wanted to make some extra money. And then it turned into something that has changed me as a person. I mean, it has truly, I grew from 25 years old till almost 30 now. It's night and day of the person I've become because of what I've learned about myself. So that's what I credit entrepreneurship to more than anything. So here we are today on our first episode of Personal Growth Nation. And so that's a little of my last 10 years wrapped up in a 10-minute rant.
Absolutely awesome. So yeah, I mean, you're turning 30 in March. It's going to be here before we know it. You obviously had a very, very successful 20s building businesses. You're an Emmy winner. What is it for you when you think about the next 5 years? There it is. The next 5 years of your life. What's your vision? What is it that Freddie Smith wants to make sure happens? And where do you want your path and journey to go?
That's a loaded question. We purposely didn't go over these questions so that it would be organic. The next 5 years are very important, especially with, with our relationship, coming to this age too. It's, when we're talking about a family and we're talking about, that next step, I really feel the next 5 years is kind of our window to really travel, to really take chances, to take risks, to do things that we might not be able to do or want to do if we decide to start a family in 5 years, because then that's going to be that chapter of our life. And, that's a whole nother thing. So I think the next 5 years is kind of, I'm not going to include both of us on this, babe, but I think it's like our next 5 years is to be us, to take risks, to do things. And we're like all in on this social media game. The reason that we're doing this podcast is, people talked about trends, and I just never understood trends. You kind of just hear, and it was kind of like the typical business talk, but everyone's talking about podcasting. Everyone's talking about Facebook Live. Everyone's talking about YouTube and vlogging. Everyone's talking about Instagram. People are making so much money on Instagram and YouTube, and they're able just to be themselves. They get to work when they want to work. And I'm obsessed with gaining a following, adding value to people, because everyone's talking nowadays, and it's just like auditioning. There's 1,000 actors and one person books it, and there's 1 million people who are trying to do it, and there's how many actors, right? The same things in social media. Everyone has the distribution, But how are there some people who have 12 million followers and some people have 16? So you still have to figure that out. But we're able to build businesses online. And I think it's the most fun thing to find products you love, find brands that you love. Like Alyssa, I can't wait to get our Instagram followers to 100,000. That's when it can start getting really fun, because you can talk to sneaker brands, to watch brands, to all these cool things that we like, and we might be able to do a sponsor deal. It's not going to be like millions of dollars, but it'd be really cool if you can work with a brand and have them pay you a small amount or a big amount of money to wear just their brand and promote something you already stand behind, but then use that money to invest in our own clothing line or to invest in a actual studio for our podcast in the future, or whatever it may be. So the next 5 years is going to be, it's just all in exploration of looking into every opportunity, trying things, and then going all in on the things that are feeling right. So that's why we try everything. And if you followed us or have followed us for a while, I mean, we're just down. Like, we're like, let's do it. Like, vlogs, let's do it. What do we need to do? We learn about it. We take a week or two. We learn. Let's do it. Run Facebook ads. How do we do it? Let's learn for 2 weeks. Let's do it. And so that's just what we're doing. So I think there's going to be, I'd love to travel, build businesses, and just meet a ton of like-minded people and just build a core group of people who want to kick some ass and really make a difference.
Perfect. Absolutely love that. Well, again, having success both as an entrepreneur and an actor, if you had to pick, which would you say is a harder industry to be in, making it as an actor or making it as an entrepreneur?
Well, I mean, it's the same amount of work. I guess I don't like to use the word easy. I guess it's just different. But being an entrepreneur, there's no gatekeeper because of the internet now. If you have a great idea and you have a great product, or you have a great invention, or you have something amazing, you can put it out to the market. I can also use YouTube as an actor, and I can put out monologues if I wanted, or short films, but short films take money unless you can get a team together. But to really have production value, you need a big team who's going to give favors to do that. But there's gatekeepers in acting. As of now, for the most part, you got to find a manager agent who believes in you, but also sees your vision. Like if they saw me a certain way, but deep down, I'm like, you don't understand, like, I need to play this character. You got to find that. And then you have to rely on them when they're looking through their roster of 1,000 people to read these breakdowns and go, yeah, I'm going to send Freddie for this. And then the casting director has to agree to see you. And then you sit there in a chair, and then the casting director has to decide if you're good enough, where maybe the producer, you were the one, but the casting for some reason said no. Then you never got to the producer. But in entrepreneurship, if you have a product and you know how to market it, or you have an invention and know how to market it or put a team together, you can penetrate the market. So I'd say that portion's easier, but both to sustain it is where all the work comes in. And that's why there's really only a small percentage. Like, being an entrepreneur successfully and an actor successfully and a singer and a pro athlete are all in the same realm of a small percentage can achieve it. So how do you stand out as the 1%? What can I, like, that's why I follow so many people who I look up to. So I'm like, I want what they have. I'm not going to listen to the noise of everyone else. I'm going to watch all the people that I want to emulate. So I would say, yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And being on the subject of acting, we had a question come in from fan Dave Bauer asking, what is going on with Hiker? Are we going to be able to see this? And if you wouldn't mind letting people know what Hiker is. And
Yeah. So I've produced, wrote, and direct a couple things. They didn't make money, so I don't like to give myself the title of writer or director, because it wasn't like sold or bought, or we didn't create a profit or at least put it out or anything. But the couple things we did do, I was very proud of both of them. One was a web series in 2013, which really kickstarted a lot of things for us. It's super funny and amazing. We put that on YouTube. But we made a feature film, Hiker, with GoPros, and it was a really, really good story. But we had a very low budget. We were trying to shoot the whole thing for $10,000 in 6 days, a full-length feature, and we did everything ourselves. And the final product for me felt like a C+, and we definitely need to do reshoots in order for me to feel confident to put it out. So I think at this point, what we've decided to do, and we're not for sure yet, is use the footage we have to cut together a really good like 5-minute teaser, and then pitch that to different producers who will see the vision and say, oh, well, here's $100,000 to reshoot it, but let's do it with a higher quality and production value. So I think that's the route we're gonna go. Or we might just say, screw it, and go, it's gonna be great. Like, we're being too picky on ourselves, and just put it out on like Vimeo or something. So stay tuned, but I have no exact date for the hiker movie.
All right. Well, so you definitely are a very busy guy. You are juggling a lot of different things, from acting to building businesses. What is the perfect work-life balance for you? How is it that you balance both work and personal life?
For me, it's the I have to do it in blocks. I can't have work-life balance every day. So I do things in sprints. For those of you who follow me, it's like the 90-day run with fitness. For some reason, I can do it. It's a complete excuse, but it's like to be 100% eating healthy 365 days a year, to me, just doesn't work. But when I do it in 90-day runs, it works. So same thing. Like if I have like 3 weeks of Days of Our Lives, that's just like tons of stuff. That will kind of consume my life for those 3 weeks. I'll crush it. I'll do what I'm supposed to do there and do it at the best of my ability. But then if I'm off for 2 weeks, I'll then go and do 16-hour days building my business. And then like this summer, like we went to Cabo and smashed beers and ate free food with our all-inclusive and just did nothing. And then we're planning on having our families come out for Christmas. So we're going to do family time. So I think people get caught up if they're trying to have, and Eric Worre, I think, made a great video about this. For any of you who follow Eric Worre, it's hard to have life balance of every portion: family, love, business, relaxation, like all in one day. You kind of have to go, I'm going all in on business. I'm going to have to give up some family time for these 90 days, but then spoil my family, or vice versa. Like if Alyssa and I don't go on date night for a while, it's for a reason, but then we can celebrate and really enjoy our date night. So that's how I balance it. I schedule my days out, but I don't try to fit everything in. I just focus on what needs to be done to keep moving every portion of my life in a positive direction.
Great. And speaking of schedules, what's your morning like? Do you do the same thing every single morning? Does it change? Does it differ? What do you like to do every morning to get your day started?
Well, my first thing is what's really changed and helped me is I no longer bring my phone into the bedroom. I shut my phone off at night around like 10, 11 o'clock, maybe 9. And I'll just put my alarm on. I'll set it in the kitchen, and then I go to bed. So this way, if I wake up in the middle and I don't roll over and see a tweet or an Instagram or a text or something that's going to affect my mood. So I keep it away. And what I've also been doing when I was a kid, I know people who are older probably like, you're still a kid. But no, like when I was like 23 and I worked at 7:30, I would wake up at 7:20 and I would drive 5 minutes to work. And my day was controlling me. I wasn't controlling my day. So what I do now is anytime I have to be somewhere at like 7, I have to be up 1 hour early so that I can wake up. I can control my morning, have me time, have my breakfast and coffee, and have 30 minutes to either read 10 pages of a good book, or plan my day, or check my emails, and I do something like that. But in the morning is kind of like, this is what I need to do. And if I'm not working, I love getting my workout out of the way so that I don't procrastinate the rest of the day. I love to wake up, work out, and I just feel so accomplished. I'm like, all right, it's 9:30, and now I don't have to like leave the house if I don't want to, if I have no meetings. I can just like sit and build my business on my phone, on my laptop at home. So that's kind of how I do my mornings.
Okay, awesome. And, we've had you answer a lot of questions, obviously, about, say, your morning or going through a specific routine. Do you think that most successful people have habits and mindsets that they follow that are similar? And if so, what are yours? What is it that you like to do that really gets you in the zone to make sure that you are the most productive that you can be?
For me, it's just, I have this interesting thing about me that's it's kind of hard to explain. I mean, you understand, but the viewers who don't know me, I mean, it's something that I'm getting better because of Alyssa when it comes to like affirmations and like, telling the universe that, I am successful, I am a warrior, I am a champion. And I'm starting to get better doing that. But I've always had, since I can remember, this overall like feeling inside of me that's just this hunger for success. Like I have such a high standard for myself that this sounds really crazy, but when I look back in my 20s, some people can call it a huge success, and I recognize and I'm grateful for the success that I've had. But my standard of what I know I'm capable of doing, I'm kind of like, I did okay. And I'm just learning to surround myself with people who are continuing to push the limits and allow me to continue to grow. Because if you're reading and you're challenging yourself and you're stepping out of your comfort zone every single day, the potential of your growth is what I've really, recognized. So for me, what was the initial question? I was winding up to like tag this with
specific mindsets and different habits that you may have to be productive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The habit, the habit for me is I just, I'm just always working on something. I don't.
True.
I would say, the thing that I do understand though, with certain people who maybe don't feel motivated, the only way I feel that I can relate to that is it takes so much mental strength for me to want to hit the gym 6 days a week. But it doesn't take any effort for me to want to work on a business or on something that's generating income. Like every day, no matter how I'm feeling, like I'm always like, don't care what time of night, like I'm constantly, there's this fire inside me that I'm just always, because I know what it's like to not have money. I know what it's like to share a 1-bedroom apartment with somebody. I know what it's like to drive a crappy car. I know what it's like to work at a job that I know that I've busted my ass and the boss just won't pay me what I'm worth. Like I had to actually at Outback, I had to walk out to get his attention so that he would bump me up to server, because I was kicking ass there, showing up early, and just for whatever reason, like I don't like being at someone else's beck and call. Like I have like the fear of going down a level has sparked my thing where I'm like all day, every day, like whatever I got to do, if it's wake up at 5 a.m, I'd rather wake up at 5 a.m. and work for myself than be able to sleep in till 8 and work for somebody else who's not going to appreciate the value that I'm bringing. So I think that's what it is. I'm constantly just motivated to continue to climb and climb and climb and climb and just see how far I can go.
Yep. And, obviously with social media these days, people don't always see the road to success. There are a lot of dips and turns and loop-de-loops, and it can be totally crazy, and failure happens. And I'm curious with you, how do you deal with failure? Does it spark anything in you? Do you get upset? What's the best way you deal with failure?
I mean, it's definitely, it's kind of like you built like a big house of cards and then someone slams the door and you're just like, come on, I just built this thing. No. But then you realize, oh, well, the next house of cards I built, I'm going to make sure I lock the door. And then the house of cards, the air conditioner comes on and blows the house of cards down again. You're like, damn it. And I'm like, okay, next time I'm going to put this work in. I'm locking the door. I'm turning off the air conditioner. I'm shutting all the blinds. And then the dog runs in and knocks it over. And then you're like, damn it. Okay. I'm air conditioner, door, dog, everything. And I'm going to use super glue this time. And then now you have this strong house of cards that you've built. And then you see a lot of people who are trying it and the door's blowing down their house of cards and they just haven't learned yet. And the way you can learn is by your own mistakes, which I used to do all the time. And then this magical thing called personal development came into my life. And you can probably see some of the books behind me. These are all the answers. If you want to know how to have a successful anything, just read. Like, I'm so blown away that all the answers are in these books. Well, and you can find anything online nowadays. So I've been trying to learn from other people rather than having to make my own mistake. But I just make mistakes. Like, we're going to improve this podcast. We're going to improve everything we're doing because you're going to take feedback. And I don't take it as a failure at all. I just don't care. I just want to keep moving. Like,
well,
what's
being
next?
on that same note, though, of following other people, is there anyone that you can give our viewers that you love to follow, that you learn from, that you listen to their podcasts, their trainings, keynotes?
Yeah, I would say right now, Andy Frisella, amazing guy. Lewis Howes, an amazing guy. Gary Vaynerchuk, amazing guy. Even Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I mean, his Instagram is very inspiring just on who he is as a person. Like, I love his brand and just how he's doing everything.
Awesome. And for you, what do you think is the best advice that you've ever received? Top of your head.
Our dog is like barking. Not barking, but scratching on the door. The best advice that I've ever received. I think at the end of the day, it's just not caring what other people think, because you can't make everybody happy, and I just kind of learned that. And when you're doing a lot of different projects and you put yourself out there, you're just not going to please everyone. So whatever you're trying to do, you just need to surround yourself with the best people that share your vision. Just because you sat next to someone in chemistry doesn't mean that that's someone you need to keep in your circle for the rest of your life, unless that's someone who adds equal value. I think that was the hardest thing for me. It's like, just because you grow up with someone or just because you knew someone during a time, it's like, if people are growing in different directions, just like relationships, how many people date and date and date and date and date and date till they find the right person? It's the same thing. Some people stay friends, some people don't, but you got to find the people who are going to challenge you, and that it's a 50-50 road. Yeah. Like, I want to get 50%, they get 50%, and we both help each other, and we both share the same vision. Like, that's what's difficult too with certain people that I love unconditionally too, that, and maybe some of you are like this too. Like, I have such big aspirations that some people look at me and think you're nuts. And I go, well, you also said I was nuts about coming out here to act. And then you also said I was nuts about selling this, or you said I was nuts about doing online this, or you said I was like, it's just the same, like everyone. If I said I'm gonna go do real estate, you know what people would say? Oh, you know how hard the market is? Well, I'm gonna go open up my own cookie bakery. Oh, there's too many bakeries. Like, no matter what you're gonna do that's out of the norm or makes someone around you look at the mirror and go, if he can do it, I can do it. It makes people feel scared. Everyone's in their comfort zone. So the best advice is just don't care what anyone thinks. You have your one life, and I got to do me, because I'm the one that has to get up when my alarm clock goes off, and I got to go put in the work, and that's my life. I only have so many days on this planet, and I'm not going to spend it with people who don't make me happy. I'm not going to spend it doing something I don't love just because of what we're told. Think of that concept. You can actually do what you love. Just ask yourself how. How can I do this? Not why can't I? How can I? How can I do it? What do I need in order to do this? And then go do that. Don't live in the fear of like, well, what happens? You just got to go for it. So, yeah, don't live in fear.
So great. I was going to ask you any last advice, but that was a total mic drop moment. So, boom, leave that there. Well, one last thing in closing, and then we'll wrap this up. You're a prime example of someone who definitely has a lot of their plate filled. You do so many different things. And sometimes I feel like we hear all the time that people go, oh, I don't know, I don't have enough time to do something, but they're also very unhappy with their life. They're wanting something more, maybe a side hustle. Maybe their dream is cupcakes, and Kathy wants to open Kathy's Cupcakes, but she's like, I don't have enough time. I can't do it. What's your last advice? Because you're someone who has done it all, and you still stay sane and have time for yourself and obviously, your personal life. What's your advice on that?
I don't have the time is the number one biggest excuse that people tell themselves. And it could be true in the sense that you don't have time because of the priority level that you're making that. Like for me, like if someone's like I've had, and this is something I need to do. Everyone I know golfs. And when my friends say we need to go golfing or you need to learn to golf, what do I say? I don't have the time. I don't have the time because of the actual priority level that I'm putting golf. Golf's like number 12, and I have everything ahead of me. Friends, family, work, even my vlog, a podcast, like, right?
Right.
So if you're putting the thing that's going to change your life that you want more than anything, number 12 on your priority list, then you're not going to have time for it. But I make time for the things that matter for me. So if you are distant with a friend in a relationship or whatever it may be, or the relationship you're in or anything that you need to make it a higher priority so that you'll make time for it. So same thing with the gym. It's an excuse. I don't have the time. I have the time. Priorities. priorities. And I know everyone's, busy, but I've heard it. Like, we've worked with enough people, thousands and thousands of people. And here's one thing I'll call you out. I'll leave you with this. The same people who say they don't have time for whatever it may be, we're following you, or we're probably friends on Instagram or Facebook. I see what your actual life is. This isn't back in the day where you're like, I don't have time, I'm so busy. And some people will make you feel that way, like, oh, I'm so busy, Freddie. You don't know what it's like to have 3 kids. I don't, but I look at your Facebook and you're out every Thursday and Friday and Saturday night. You're at a concert, you're at a ball game, you're doing all this fun stuff. So you're putting fun, which is fine, a higher priority than whatever you're saying you don't have time for, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just I don't have time is just an excuse at the bottom line. So put whatever you want as a priority. And back to that whole thing with the family and friends to close this out is, if you really, for me to be the best family man, boyfriend, son, business partner, I need to put me first in the sense of making me happy. If I'm in an atmosphere that I'm not happy in, I'm not my best me. And my family and friends and girlfriend deserves the best me. So I need to put my priorities in check so that I'm happy. And when I'm doing what I love, everyone else's life around me seems to be impacted positively. And when I'm not doing things I love, or I'm in situations I'm not happy with, it affects people negatively. So I'm aware of that. So I just put my priorities in the way of, like, what does Freddie need to do to make himself happy? And I make small sacrifices here and there, but I've gotten to the point where I don't really do that anymore. Like, there is a time for sacrifices, but now it's just all about me and being able to create what I need. And I just know when I'm at my happiest, that's when I'll be the most selfless, because I'm full and I'm able to give. And it's the same oxygen mask. You put your oxygen mask on before helping others. It's that same exact concept. So absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, Freddie, thank you so much for all of those nuggets. And to all the viewers out there, we hope you guys had as much fun as we did, because that is our time. That was our very first episode that is coming to a close. And we want to know, guys, comment below. Did you love it? What do you want to see next week? Do you have questions? And guess what? Good news. We're going to be here, same place, same time next week, 6 p.m. Pacific. You don't want to miss it. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, because we're all about the Instagram, don't forget to follow Freddie at FMSmith319. And I am at Alyssa Tabbitt. That's our time, guys. See you soon.
See you later. Bye-bye.